Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I hope you've had a wonderful week at school this week. And here we go, another week, another Mrs. Lewis Assembly. And as you can see here, my assembly is all about something called COP26. Now, I wonder if any of you have heard of COP26 in the past few days. Do a little show of hands in your classroom. Who has heard of it? Maybe you've heard it on the news, maybe on the television, on a programme, maybe you've heard it on the radio, maybe you've seen it in a newspaper or you heard your parents talking about it. Do a little show of hands who has heard what COP26 or heard that phrase before today. So some of you are probably thinking, well, what on earth is COP26? Has Mrs. Lewis turned police officer in America and now she's COP number 26? Not quite, have to say. So COP, say COP, that part of it stands for Conference of Parties. Now that is a conference is a huge meeting, and it's involving lots of different people all working to the same goal. So sometimes teachers go on conferences. Sometimes your parents might go on a conference. It's just a huge meeting and everybody is there to work to the same goal. And this goal, COP26, is actually the 26th meeting of members of a special group of people. And this group of people are members of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC. What a brilliant term is that? Imagine saying that really fast. So this is the 26th time that this conference has taken place, hence why it is called COP26. Now, it's a really important meeting, and the overall purpose of this meeting is for leaders across the globe to come together to take action against climate change. Now, they do lots of talking at this meeting, lots of things are discussed, but the reason they have it is to, at the end of it, they have things that are tangible goals that every country involved is going to do to take action against climate change. So every year, the COP takes place in a different country. And this year, COP26 is actually taking place in Glasgow, in Scotland. And actually, this is the hugest event for world leaders that Scotland has ever hosted, which is really exciting for Scotland. So let's have a look at some of the world leaders who are actually attending this event. Now, there are lots of people at this event, lots and lots. Don't just think it's only the people here. There are lots and lots of people. There are also smaller organisations. There are people who've got tickets just to go and watch and to be there. But these are some of the world leaders who are there. I wonder if you want to maybe pause for a moment and have a look if there's anybody you recognise, anybody who you've never seen before. Have a little look at it together as a class. So some of the people you may have noticed, we've got Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister is here. He has attended COP26 and he is there again today. We've got Nicola Sturgeon from Scotland. We've got Joe Biden, the President of the United States. We've got, is he on here? I'm trying to find Emmanuel Macron, there he is, from France. We've also got some other people, though, who are really significant in terms of being environmentalists, like David Attenborough. We've got Greta Thunberg. We've got Prince Charles, who in his entire life has done a lot for tackling the environment and how we can be better with our environment. So all these people are coming together at different times to actually discuss the ongoing climate crisis and what we can do. Now, it's not just world leaders that are there. Like I said, there are thousands of other people there too. Some of them are notable charities who work tirelessly to make the world better, to make the world fairer, to make the world more sustainable. So charities like Action Against Hunger, WWF, Greenpeace, they are all there as well during this conference, actually spread the message, to share what they are doing and to share what needs to be done next to make sure that our world is actually becoming a greener, more sustainable place. Because if it doesn't, then actually the consequences are going to be really, really extreme. And we can see some of those consequences already. So I want you to talk about now, what do you actually think the leaders discuss at this conference? Because they can turn up and they can say, yep, we've got a bit of a problem. There's too much plastic. The world's getting hotter. What do you think they actually discuss at this conference? Talk about it together for a moment. So during the conference, they talk about lots of different things. They agree on targets for the future. And one of the huge targets at the moment is about reducing greenhouse gases to protect our planet. Because at the moment, the planet is too warm, it's too hot. And because it's too hot, it's causing lots of different issues all over the place. We've got the issues that in the Arctic, the glaciers, the ice is melting. We've got the seas are rising because the ice is melting. We've got issues that come because of people chopping trees down in that large scale deforestation. All of these things are actually not helping our planet at all. They're going the other way. And so the decisions that they make at this conference affect people all over the globe. And they are aiming to help us to work together. And as I said before, to become greener and more sustainable, to actually ensure that our planet can sustain and can survive going forth, and that we as humans can flourish on this planet, that all the animals can flourish on this planet, that all the plants and the trees can flourish on this planet as well. So actually really agreeing specific targets that each country can do to make a difference is what they do at this conference. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, they had the Paris Agreement, which actually was at COP21. Now, during the Paris Agreement, nations agreed that they would do the following things. So everyone that was there signed this special agreement to say that they as a country would reduce their greenhouse gas emissions and invest in renewable energy sources like wind power and solar power. So using those things rather than burning more and more fossil fuels, which is dangerous for the planet. The second thing they agreed was to prevent global temperatures from warming. So the planet's been getting hotter and hotter and hotter, but actually what we've got to try and do is stop that warming. And we've got to try and keep the increase as low as 1.5 degrees, as low as we can. The third thing that everyone agreed at the Paris Agreement was to help less developed countries to become more environmentally friendly by supporting them financially. Because we know that burning fossil fuels is actually really cheap. It's cheap to do, but it costs the country, costs the planet in the long run because of all the effects of it. So things like wind and solar energy are really good for the planet, but they cost a lot of money to put in place. So it's about helping countries that are really struggling by supporting them financially so that they can become more environmentally friendly as well. And one of the last agreement was that they would review progress on this agreement every 5 years. So one of the things that is a big focus of COP26 is reviewing this agreement that was made at COP21 and seeing how far each country has come in holding up to these agreements that they made. Something else that is going to be a big focus of COP26 is actually COVID and the climate. And I remember in assembly I did ages ago when we first came back to school after the first lockdown, is we did talk about how the effects that we saw in our local area, in our climate, nationally, globally, because of COVID. So during that time when everyone was in lockdown and there were no planes in the sky, there were no cars on the ground, lots of countries, we in our country saw a big difference in the environment and a big difference that happened really quickly. So world leaders, environmentalists have really stood up and said, look at the quick change that happened when the world was forced to not burn so much fossil fuel. Look what happened when the world was forced to slow down, to use other things, to walk, to go on their bikes rather than use buses and trains, rather than using their cars. And actually that is something that we need to focus on, because the after effects of the coronavirus pandemic and things that are still happening now will have an impact on COP26. And our governments are paying more attention to the environment. And that's how we want to move our planet from what we can see there on the brown side of this picture to what we can see on the other side. So what I want you to do now is I want you to think, stop for a moment, stop the video and discuss, oh, big bang there. What can we do? What can I do individually to help climate change? What can you do individually? What can you do as a class? Have a discussion about that for a moment now. So some of the things you might have come up with, there's a smorgasbord of ideas here. As I just said, bike more and drive less. I love walking. You know, I have a car, I very rarely use it because I walk everywhere. So can you do more things like that? Can you use your bikes more? Can you walk to places more? Think about volunteering. We've got lots of children in our St Mary's community who have gone around. I remember taking you onto the Chalkwood Beach a few years ago, and we did a beach clean whilst we were there. There are children in our community who've helped out within school with litter picking. There are children in our community who've done litter picking on their way to and from school or in their own communities where they live. That's really important. Volunteering and getting involved in those sorts of things. Obviously, the 3 R's we talk about within the science curriculum quite often: reduce, reuse, and recycle. What can we do to actually reduce the amount of waste that we have? Where can we reuse it? And actually, how can we recycle efficiently? Conserving water is a huge thing. So thinking about turning off the tap when you're brushing your teeth rather than let it run. Do you need to have all that water all the time? Thinking about those things actually helps to make our planet a lot better. Being careful when we're shopping and not using so many plastic bags, planting trees where we can, or planting more flowers in your garden. All of these things are things that we can do individually. And the bottom one there, turning off the lights. I'm always turning off lights in places because actually half the time we don't need the light on, it's bright enough. So thinking about those small things that actually make a really big difference is what I would ask you to do today. So we're going to take some time now to have a prayer. And actually this prayer is from the Archbishop of York that he made especially for COP26, thinking about all our leaders coming together. And let's take some time now to come together as a school community to make our pledge as part of COP26 for how we can do our bit here at St Mary's to make our world, our globe, our planet a better, more sustainable place. Creator God, giver of life, you sustain the earth and direct the nations. In this time of climate crisis, grant us clarity to hear the groaning of creation and the cries of the poor. Challenge us to change our lifestyles. Guide our leaders to take courageous action. Enable your church to be a beacon of hope and foster within us a renewed vision of your purposes for your world. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, by and for whom all things were made. Amen. Now we're going to have today's song, which is one I don't think anyone actually knows, but it is one that I have chosen. And I wonder if when the song has finished, you can maybe work out why it was that I chose this song today. So you might catch up with the tune as it goes along. And by all means, if you want to sing along when you get the idea of how it goes.
We're
That might actually be my new favourite song, I have to say. That song is brilliant. Now, I'm hoping you've realised that although that song was about a school, the actual reality is that song could be just about my assembly today. We need to build, to grow as a community. Every one of us is really valuable. And so everything that we do is a valuable contribution to saving and protecting our planet going forth. And as you can see here, it's about all types of people working together to really clean up the mess that's already made and to fix what we have done already, but to actually think about how we can carry on into the future to make something that is greener and more sustainable. So I'm hoping that someone is on turning off the lights. I'm hoping someone is checking the water, and I'm hoping you or each and every one of you going to do your bit. Because if St Mary's can become a greener and more sustainable place, then we are playing our part in helping our planet. I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all very soon. Next Friday, you might even see me in some Pudsey Ears for Children in Need. See you soon.